So today we must sadly cancel the Army. This, I admit, is a bit of a victim-blaming scenario. The Army got worked over, scammed, I guess, allegedly. They got a bad deal, as Trump would say, and I'm blaming them for it. Here's the article from military.com. The Army is seemingly having buyer's remorse after an $11 million marketing deal with the United Football League and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. The high-profile, high-dollar deal likely didn't lead to a single new Army recruit and may possibly have had a negative impact on finding new enlistments. The service may even seek to get some of its money back. The Army inked the deal earlier this year with the UFL, the upstart minor league alternative to the NFL that had an inaugural season from March through June with a disappointing debut. More importantly, the deal included Johnson, a global superstar and owner of the league, who was supposed to serve as a pseudo-brand ambassador for the Army, though the service said he did not fulfill his end of the bargain to publish a specific number of service-related posts on his social media accounts. Now, before the article describes what exactly his end of the bargain was supposed to be and how it failed, it gets into some detail about the historic recruiting crisis facing the Army along with other branches of service. And the crisis is real. I mean, last year alone, the military across the Army, Navy, and Air Force came up over 40,000 recruits short of its goal. They also came up short the year before and the year before that. So this is a compounding problem, and it's a major problem. We'll return to that point in a moment, but first, more details here. Quote, the UFL deal was so catastrophic it led to a projected loss of 38 enlistments, an Internal Revenue review of the plan shows. The bulk of the deal included prominent Army branding during UFL games, including the service logos on players' uniforms. But the center of gravity was Johnson, whom service planners were hoping could elevate the Army brand, as he's among the most revered celebrities in the world with a strong cross-demographic appeal. Part of the allure of the deal was Johnson's social media reach and an agreement that he would tout the Army. A titan on social media, Johnson has 396 million followers on Instagram. The Army valued each social media post at $1 million, service documents show, and it was expecting 5 of them. But Johnson did not fulfill his end of the deal, making only 2 of the 5 social media posts. Okay, let me see if I understand this correctly. They paid $11 million for the UFL, an obscure off-season football league that nobody watches, to market for them. Sizable portion of that money was allocated to The Rock, who was supposed to post on social media about the Army. They put a value of $1 million on each social media post. They were paying $1 million per post. So already we have a massive problem here because there is no way on God's good green earth that a single post to social media could ever be worth $1 million, even if it's posted by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Now, one of the posts that The Rock did make was apparently just a picture of him posing with some Army generals. So they thought a picture of The Rock standing next to some Army dudes was worth $1 million. Like, inflation truly is out of control right now. In fact, I'll say this, that if they're valuing social media posts that highly, then I'd like to talk to them about a promotional deal for me. Now, I don't have as many followers as The Rock or even close to as many, but I do have millions of social media followers. So, if he can get $1 million to post a picture of himself to his Instagram, I'd be willing to do it for let's call it 75 grand. That's a steal. I'm basically doing charity work at these rates. The pictures don't even have to be of me. I'll post pictures of The Rock on my channels if they'll pay me high 5 figures for each post. Now, of course, the most incredible thing here is that The Rock didn't even do all of the posts that he was supposed to. Imagine being so rich that someone will pay you $1 million for 5 posts on Instagram, $1 million each, but you only bother to do 2. The other 3 aren't worth the effort for a measly $3 million, I guess. That's the other reason why I'd be a much better investment than The Rock. If I scam you by charging you $1 million for a social media post, I will have the decency to actually post it. Or at least I'll make sure my social media team does, because logging in and doing it myself is kind of a hassle. Anyway, it appears that this strategy of blowing millions of dollars on selfies with The Rock did not translate into a single new recruit, as the article says. Not one single person saw The Rock's picture on Instagram and said, you know what, I think I'll join the Army. In fact, they tell us 38 people who, I guess, were going to enlist decided not to, and they're blaming the social media posts for that. I guess they really hate professional wrestling. I don't know. So this is another failed recruitment scheme, and it can be added to the list of all the other failed recruitment schemes in recent years. And of course, we cannot talk about failed Army recruitment schemes without again making note of the 2021 ad campaign that included this ad.
This is the story of a soldier who operates your nation's Patriot missile defense systems. It begins in California with a little girl raised by two moms. Although I had a fairly typical childhood, took ballet, played violin, I also marched for equality. I like to think I've been defending freedom from an early age. When I was 6 years old, one of my moms had an accident that left her paralyzed. Doctors said she might never walk again. But she tapped into my family's pride to get back on her feet, eventually standing at the altar to marry my other mom.
Okay, we get caught up. So the story drones on and on, as stories told by women so often do. But remember, this was an entire ad blitz, not just one random commercial. They had a bunch of ads like this. That I guess by the way they spend money, they probably spent $50 million just on that one ad we just saw. They also had the other one that had the look and sound of a Disney princess film and featured this scene.
When I was 17, I had such real big dreams. I said, Dad, I want to be a soldier so I can be like you.
Yep, I get it. I mean, so that's a Army ad there. What do you notice about these ads? I mean, what do you notice about whatever you can see of the ads while you're cringing into a ball? They are, of course, targeted at women, which is what the Army's been doing for a long time. Instagram selfies with celebrities are also mostly targeted at women, even if the celebrity is The Rock. And if you don't want to go as far as to say that social media posts from The Rock are a feminine recruitment strategy, we can at least say that it's not a strategy likely to mobilize young men to do anything, least of all join the Army. And the proof's in the pudding on that one. So this is a problem because the recruitment crisis in the military is entirely due to a drop in male enlistment. Another article from military.com, this one from June of this year, spells this out. Quote, a decade of declining recruitment numbers for the Army is almost entirely attributable to a significant drop in male recruiting as female enlistments have remained relatively flat, internal service data reviewed by military.com shows. Since 2013, male enlistments have dropped 35%, going from 58,000 men enlisting in 2013 to 37,700 in 2023. Meanwhile, female recruitment has hovered around 10,000 recruits each year. Okay, so the military has aggressively feminized its recruitment strategy, and yet still, the number of female recruits remains the same. But the number of male recruits has fallen off a cliff. Women are not all that interested in joining the military, no matter how desperately the military wants them to join. Men used to be very interested in joining the military, but no longer are. So that's the crisis. That is the entire crisis. It's not that the military is failing to attract recruits generally, it's that it's failing to attract men. Young men specifically, between the ages of 18 and 24, which is the age range of about 90% of new recruits. So how do you fix that? Well, you have to understand what appeals to young men and speak to them on that level. Like you have to be willing to try to appeal to men specifically, which no institution in American life is willing to do anymore, including the military. And it's not all about having good ads or even mostly about ads, but the tone of the ads can tell you something. With so much going on in the world, it can be hard to cut out all the distractions and focus on the task at hand. If you sympathize with this sentiment, you need to check out my new partners over at Magic Mind. 5 years ago, Magic Mind set out to create a drink that could consistently get you 100% mental performance without any of the side effects caused by overcaffeination. Took 106 formulations, but they finally managed to do exactly that. Magic Mind is a mental performance shot in addition to your daily routine that gets you focused, clear-headed, motivated, and productive while reducing stress. See, coffee doesn't actually give you energy. Caffeine blocks the adenosine neuroreceptors in your brain that tell you that you're tired. When the receptors unblock, 1 to 3 hours later, you experience a sudden drop in energy called the caffeine crash. But the L-theanine inside Magic Mind, along with 12 other active ingredients, I'm mispronouncing them, it doesn't matter. You don't have to pronounce them. All that matters is that it helps support your body's energy engine and makes your coffee last all day. Magic Mind also includes herbs to reduce stress and lift your mood without hurting your energy bank. Magic Mind is 100% safe with ingredients sourced from the best suppliers, and you can add it to your morning routine just like your daily vitamins. I highly recommend it. Go to magicmind.com/Matt Walsh. Use our code MattWalsh20 to get up to 48% off your first subscription for the next 10 days or 20% off a one-time purchase. That's magicmind.com/Matt Walsh, promo code MattWalsh20. So think about what recruitment commercials back in the 90s used to be like. I can remember growing up in the 90s, watching TV, you see these recruitment ads all the time, and they were all very similar, but they had a certain tone to them. So, for example, here's a very 90s Army commercial that aired about 30 years ago. Watch.
I can't tell you how it feels when you're way out there on your own tracking the bad guys. How it feels leading a skilled team that's the eyes and ears of the whole outfit. When all your training is coming alive. But finding those tanks and telling the air cavalry right where to hit them? I can tell you exactly how that feels.
Okay, so according to the YouTube description, that aired in 1992 during a WWF, as it was known at the time, Saturday Night Main Event. Now, the music may be a bit on the dated side, though also very much on the awesome side, in my opinion. But focus instead on the pitch that they're making. They're saying, come join the Army. It's exciting. It's an adventure. You can hunt down and kill the bad guys. That is a pitch tailor-made for young men between the ages of 18 and 24. This used to be how the military sold itself. It spoke to that distinctly male desire for adventure, excitement, and combat. Now, the Marines had maybe the best entry into this genre. Here's an ad from 1987.
Once, there were a few proud men. Men of adventure. Men of courage. Men who knew the meaning of honor. There still are. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Okay, I mean, I want to join the Marines after watching that. I want to join the Marines in 1987. I mean, even again, retro vibe, a little dated with the music and all that, and the special effects. But if my 11-year-old son saw that ad, he'd want to join the Marines. This would be if he saw that ad. So you get to have a sword. Yeah, that's what he would be thinking. So adventure, pride, courage, honor. These are words that don't come up very often in military recruitment these days or anywhere. Like these are just not words that are used anymore. Here's another word that you hear in that commercial that you will not hear in any military ad in the current year. Men. The Marines were calling very specifically for men of adventure, men of honor, men of courage. Why? Well, because that's what a military needs if it's going to be a strong and lethal fighting force. Also, that's what young men want to be. Other ads from the time period focused on duty, patriotism, sacrifice, high ideals that stir a young man's soul to action. Now compare that to today. Compare that ad we just watched with a crusader in shining armor wielding a sword while the manly voiceover calls on men to go on an adventure for the sake of their honor. Compare that to a woman talking about her two lesbian moms. or a girl staring out at the ocean while singing about her dreams. Now, of course, you're losing men. You're doing everything you can to lose them, and none of what you could do to win them back. Partnering with a football league at least potentially gives you access to a male audience. It is arguably a step in the right direction, even if it's a league that nobody watches. But once you have access to that audience, you have to make a pitch that will appeal especially to that audience. That's what the military, terminally infected by wokeness at the highest levels, cannot bring itself to do. And that's why Army recruitment is falling off a cliff, and it will continue to until the Army no longer exists unless something changes drastically. And that is why the Army, by its own choice, is today canceled. Hey, YouTube, thanks for listening to the show. If you'd like access to my full show with no ads, you should go to dailywire.com and use promo code Walsh to get 2 months free on all annual plans. See you there.